Start. There you are.
Hi there! Welcome! I think it's Tuesday.
It is. It's Tuesday in February. We actually last night had a snow moon, and it was a super snow moon.
A super snow moon?
How
How lucky are we?
Yeah.
So this is very propitious because it's Happy Heart Month.
Happy Heart Month.
Right.
Yes.
So not only do we have a snow moon, but we have a heart month. And that's a really good thing because it reminds us how important our heart is to us. And it's also the idea of Valentine's Day.
Which we just had.
And all the good things that come with Valentine's Day. And I thought this year,
Yes.
you know, with Valentine's Day, you know, a
Put
lot
me
of
on the
people.
spot again, I can tell.
I know, it's so fun, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't read the script yet.
I know, it's a, you know, what's she gonna say this month? But, you know, a lot of people think Valentine's Day is a bit much in terms of the commercialization of it. Some people think that, well, you know, somebody invented Valentine's Day really, like Hallmark. And we love that because they're from our hometown and we love the people. But sometimes people think that's a little commercial. On the other hand, there are also people who think it's just about people who have a couple relationship, whatever that might be, and that it's all about focusing on love between, you know, a couple. Partners.
Yes.
A couple.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah.
We can call them partners.
Yes.
We can call them whatever we
Yes.
significant others. We could make a list.
We could.
Get a good list.
Yeah, okay.
And it is. I mean, obviously for Walt and I, that is a very nice reminder. But to me, it's really about reminding us of people that we love and taking a moment to think about that and take a moment to think about how our self-love, because I think one of the things in when we deal with healthy lifestyle, often the big challenge is we're the lowest on the list. Have you noticed that? Sometimes to take care of ourselves, here, take my glasses off because this is a serious topic. But really, we forget. And a friend of mine the other day, when I was talking to her, she was having a hard time. She had gotten some bad news about her health. And she said, you know, I've been spending some time with a lot of self-pity recently, but now I'm going to take that and turn it into self-priority. And I thought that is the most beautiful thing I have heard in a while. Walter Dietrich is disappearing again.
I'm just making seeing who's joining us. Hi, good to see everyone.
Hi, hello, good evening. It's so nice to have you here. So I think self-priority, and I think Valentine's Day is a good time to think about ourselves and our self-love, because Connie Stapleton, who is another woman that I admire greatly, you know, reminded us that you can't really love others until you love yourself. And so Valentine's Day, our hearts and our heart health comes in many different forms, and so this is a good day to think about that. And for us, with our Facebook Live this month, we of course are about serving up healthy recipes on Livliga. So although we do talk about other broader topics like Valentine's Day and Heart Month, we also then focus on good, healthy recipes. And this month I thought it'd be fun because, you know, there is actually very valid research that has been done on dark chocolate and how it's good for our health. And so I am just using that to talk about a really good recipe that I developed quite a while ago. It was actually early on.
One of the first, I think it was really one of the first recipes that you did as you were really sort of exploring how we savor food, how we enjoy food, what different things cause us to really think that we're eating and know that we're eating and getting satisfied. That was what it was all about.
Because the key thing to us at Livliga is the fact that we've created our company really around the idea of feeling satisfied with right-sized amounts of food.
Right.
And we do that, and so much of it is based on psychology, which is why we also tend to talk about some of the things that are related to psychology when we have our Facebook Lives, because it's about our overall mental health. Because if up here we're feeling good, we're feeling in control, then we're going to feel full and satisfied in a much more natural, healthy way.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, and I can think of so many instances myself where that is in fact that when I'm happy, when I'm doing things that I love, when I'm not bored or depressed or tired, you know, those are kind of the counter to that.
Yes.
Then, you know, it's amazing how I feel very in control, and it's very easy for me to right-sized amounts of food and feel satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right about the cooking and developing recipes, because I'm all about the fact that particularly since sweet things were a big focus of my life, I can't think of a good meal without ending it with some kind of dessert. I fortunately have, and I think Walter can attest to the fact that he's seen that change in me. That's not really the truth anymore, because I have layered in all these other flavors.
Well, and I think the other thing that you did a lot of research at the time was that the foods that tend to be addictive to us
Yes.
are foods that really have one taste profile.
Mm-hmm.
They're the salty foods or the sweet foods.
Right. They're one-dimensional, right?
Right. And
Right.
what you found, and maybe that's what you're about to go into, is that if we create foods, and sometimes they may be the salty or sweet foods that have a more complex flavor profile, they actually become much more satisfying.
Yes.
We don't get hooked on that one. It's salty, I need another chip, I need another chip, I need another chip, or it's
Right.
sweet, oh that's so good, oh it's so good, and we just keep eating.
And it's kind of mindless because
Yes.
it never really satiates us because it's one-dimensional. So that's why we can eat an entire bag of potato chips without ever realizing that we've
or a
done
whole
it.
box of Girl Scout cookies,
Oh
or
no, it's that time of year.
Yes, it is.
We know that personally. And yeah, that's really, really true. And you made me think of a study. I think some of you may be aware of it, but do you remember the study where they compared cocaine use to an Oreo cookie, and they found that the Oreo cookie actually lighted up the area of the brain that is susceptible to addiction more than the cocaine did. And so just really making the point that sugar is very addictive and that we don't even realize it, and that's why it becomes this compulsive thing for
Right.
us, and why we then have to be very conscious and aware of this as we're also choosing to enjoy things. So we're going to choose to enjoy making some rosemary dark chocolate chip cookies.
And I will say, again, Sheila and I have gone, we go way back.
We go.
I will say, we've been cooking together for more than 50 years. But
Oh my
one of the
goodness.
very first things that Sheila ever cooked for me
Yeah.
were your Toll House cookies.
Oh, that's
'Cause
true.
those
I've loved chocolate chip cookies forever.
Now, I
Yeah.
will say those cookies had an incredible bit of butter in them.
Woo!
They were so good. They were wonderful.
They did. Well, they actually had shortening in them too. Do you remember they were the classic Toll House cookie
With Crisco.
that had the real life, Crisco shortening
Yeah,
in them,
yeah.
and as well as butter.
Right.
And yeah, so we've
We had more
simplified
food,
that.
yes, we had really.
But we use all real ingredients, and that's, I think, really important. And you're kind of wondering what I'm doing. One of the first things, so I use fresh rosemary in my rosemary dark chocolate chip cookies.
But what do you do? I love the next thing you do.
Yeah, so we're gonna end up taking this off the stem. And I wanted to mention, I mean, you can get rosemary, you can grow rosemary, you can get pots of rosemary at the, at a flower garden or,
And where we live,
Lowe's.
that means we get to keep them for about 6 months, and then it gets too cold and it dies. But in other parts of the country, that's
Yeah,
not
but
an
you
issue.
can bring it inside and it will
Well,
last
that's
for
true.
a while.
That's true.
Or you can just get it at the grocery store. The other day they didn't have any singular rosemary, but they had this poultry herb blend, and I just wanted to point that out. They nicely gave this to me for free because they felt so badly that they had no rosemary in the store, so that was nice.
But
So
it
I
has
just
rosemary in
took
it?
It has rosemary in it because it's a blend of
As
other
well
things
as
like
thyme
thyme
and-
and
yeah.
sage and all that. And so there was just a perfect amount of rosemary. This is not one of those times that I recommend that you use dry rosemary because it really won't infuse the sugar,
it's
which
really
is the first thing.
oils
Mhm.
in this that,
Right, so you
that
need
get
the oils of
absorbed
the
by the
fresh
sugar,
rosemary.
and then that really flavors the sugar.
Right, and so the first thing that we're going to do with this, and so we're going to talk about why dark chocolate is so good for us, because we need to know that and own it, and then why rosemary is so good for us, and Walt kind of alluded to why I developed this recipe with fresh rosemary and with dark chocolate. And dark chocolate, honestly, my initial motivation was the fact that it has less sugar in it. So I was working on getting this to be a healthier, wholesome recipe. It's not less caloric, but that's also about the portion size too, which we're going to talk about. So much of what we eat has a lot to do with putting wholesome things together as ingredients, but then it's also still portion size. One of the things that Lisa Young, I might have mentioned her last time, She's a nutritionist that we've known for a number of years. She just came out with a brand new book that I recommend called Finally Full, Finally Slim, because she espouses the same philosophy we do in terms of the fact that unless you're full, then the other parts of weight management and healthy lifestyle just aren't possible. And she's all about portion control, which obviously we are too. But one of the, oh dear, Walter, what was I going to say that you went off and
Lisa Young and cooking and
portions.
portion,
Just the fact
that portion.
the big thing, and you really can't do this.
Well,
you just stay.
I was
stay
getting her
with
to
me.
hashtag Lisa Young.
Oh, it was so kind.
Yes.
It's so good. He's so good, but he has to stay here.
Yes.
Can you just tell
Yes.
Cynthia that way? Cynthia's helping us too, as you know. So what I was going to say about Lisa Young is one of the things she reminds us about is even healthy foods, if they're not eaten in the right portion, are harmful to us, right? Because they're just too many calories. Because really, portion control and weight management and all the diets that you can choose to be on, what they're really all about is calories in and calories out. Now, the quality of those calories are important as well as what we're burning, because we can alter that as well. You know, you have your kind of baseline burning, but then we can also alter these things.
Right. And so, you know, one of the other things we do with Livliga, we talk about portion control. We also talk about proportion, and on our plate it says how much of each kind of food we should have. Well, the same thing is really true within recipes. And so when you deal with a cookie recipe, you may have all the same things in this new recipe, plus maybe a few more good additions like the rosemary, or substitutions like dark chocolate for milk chocolate. But the point of the matter, you also may have less sugar or less fat, you know, things that you proportionally may have changed the recipe a little bit to make it healthier.
So if you've noticed, you guys, what I've been doing is chopping up the fresh rosemary. And we're supposed to have a tablespoon of fresh rosemary, and that stock that I did was just perfectly a tablespoon. I have a gal who actually helped us when we were starting Livliga. She was in the marketing world. Actually loved the rosemary so much that she doubled it. So again, it can be to your taste. And she loved the flavor of the rosemary so much.
And she took them over as her cookie.
She did. She would cook them up every time she had friends over. I mean, she just loved the recipe, and I think she also loved the originality of it, that she was part of that originalness. So you're probably wondering what I'm doing. I'm reaching in to get, I do 3/4 of the processed sugar, and then I do a cup of the brown sugar. So I've shifted some of the ingredients too, so that, and then the important thing is that the rosemary goes in, and then you're saturating the sugar with it, so that while you're getting the other ingredients ready, the sugars are being infused with the rosemary.
And didn't we, like the first time you did it, didn't you even like have it sit overnight, and then that was maybe a little too rosemary-full?
Obviously leaving it, I say a half hour is really
perfect.
good. And I do.
But like 8 hours, it was like, whoa, that's a rosemary chocolate chip cookie.
Yes, Cynthia.
While you're doing this, I'm doing the comments and
Thank
stuff.
you. Did somebody ask for something?
Yes.
Okay, tell me.
David, the donate.
Oh, hi, David.
Is on, and he asks, are you going to be doing any Moroccan food anytime?
Oh, David, you're so cute. Are you already in Morocco? We are joining David pretty soon in Morocco, and this is a big, huge adventure, and we are going to have so much fun.
And we are going to learn to cook Moroccan food.
Yes, and we are, thanks to David organizing that. So, not now, but you know what? I think in a Facebook Live in the future, maybe David, you come and we'll make a Moroccan dinner. All of us with some healthy food, you know, things like garbanzo beans and a fresh tagine with some couscous, pilaf. I'm envisioning.
Cinnamon and cumin and all sorts of
things. You know, and these
stuff.
chocolate chip cookies would be good to end the meal with, I'm just saying. Maybe with a couple of dates in them. But anyway, we're stirring this up, and we've got...
date, chocolate chip, dark chocolate,
I'm saying, you know, because dates are really good for you, but they're highly caloric, so you have to kind of be thoughtful about how much you put in there. But
he said
anyway.
hi, by the way.
Hi,
Hello. So we're going to infuse right now. So we've got both sugars in here. So we have a cup of the brown sugar and 3/4 cup of the regular sugar. And So we're gonna put these over here because I get rid of things as I use them so that I don't make the mistake of putting double in.
We have a commitment for our first guest chef.
All right. What?
SLC. I don't know what that, what state that is. SLC.
Uh-huh.
But he's there.
Okay.
Well, thanks. I don't know. So we're gonna put a plate on top of this. I will go. Sorry.
Okay, I can do it, but
I know, but you're supposed to stay put.
I am. I'm staying put. I'm here.
So while this is infusing, the recipe is on our website, which is livligahome.com. I think Cynthia's going to post it, or she said she would post the recipe.
Already done, actually.
Thank you, Cynthia. And so I, of course, have already changed the recipe that you're seeing, and so I want to make sure that you pay attention while we're doing this.
And see if you can do the differences.
Exactly, because I have switched up the sugar. I've switched up the flours a little bit and added my favorite white whole wheat flour in with the regular flour. So what we're going to do while this is infusing is to go back and start at the top.
And you cover that just again because you're trying to get the oil, the volatile oils and the rosemary absorbed in the.
Keep it in there. Keep it infusing.
Covered it. Keeps
We're
it.
gonna.
Okay, great.
So Walter, while I am measuring out the flours,
yes,
and in that I'm going to be putting the baking soda and the kosher salt, because you know I believe in only baking with kosher salt. It doesn't mean that if a recipe calls for something else, I won't break out and break the rules. But for me, in baking, it really makes a difference. Walt's going to separate out because one of the other ways that we make this healthy is that we only use the egg white instead of whole egg. So we're going to do 2 egg whites instead of a whole egg.
Okay.
And so,
separate that.
And then people always ask me, what do you do with the egg yolk? And I gotta confess that we have a puppy dog in our family, and so what I usually do is give it to the puppy dog because it makes her really happy. But if you're really smart, you can pre-plan this and do, because like for instance, this guy makes a really good hollandaise sauce that we can put, and his is not necessarily always healthier, but we can make a healthier version.
Right.
And maybe sometime, I'm gonna do something on sauces sometime, because that
my grandmother would always make some custard with the yolks.
Right. You know. So there is a way to use them, but sometimes the puppy dog is the winner, and so I just had to confess that. So back to the flours. So what I do is use a cup of the white whole wheat. It is a nuttier, although it's a much milder flour than the red wheat. That's the whole wheat flour we typically see. So it's really good for baking.
And you just use a little bit of it in conjunction with
I use a little less of it than I use of the regular. I do unbleached flour, but it's still, processed flour. And again, if you feel strongly about the flours you use, these things can be totally substituted. In this day and age, you can use gluten-free regular, flour to make it gluten-free. Which is, a big concern for a lot of folks, either for health reasons or, preference reasons. We have so many choices now. So, keep that in mind. And those that do cook that way probably are familiar with that. But if you need some more information on that, I'm more than happy to provide it to you if you send me a question. So again, we've got
2 beautifully divided egg yolks, egg whites.
Thank you so much. So we did that.
Whites are here. Yolks I'm putting aside.
So we're doing a cup so we did a cup of the whole wheat flour. Now we're doing a cup and a quarter of the white flour. And you probably noticed that I always spoon mine out, and then I kind of cut it with a knife at the top. So we're going to do a cup here, and you know what? I think the top of this needs to be open because I don't think we have enough flour in this one. So we hope you all are enjoying your February. We've had some really snowy
cold weather. I know, and it's snowing again. We're supposed to get another 2 inches tonight.
It's crazy. And one of our cars died. We had spent till the late evening last night fixing a car. Cold weather and cars, goodness, sometimes. So we're going to even this off. Thanks. I was going to tear it, but then it makes such a horrible noise. So I'm not. So actually, look at this. I may just make it. So I'm going to do 2 of our 1/8 cups to make a 1/4 cup because for me that's easier than.
Hold it over here to pour into it.
Oh, okay, that's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Efficient here. Mm-hmm. So that's 1. And we'll do 1 more, and then you can consolidate.
I'll do it.
Maybe we'll do it later so you don't make so much noise,
I can do
if you
it.
don't mind. So, one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, why pick rosemary for a dark chocolate chip cookie? And one of the reasons why is honestly because I love to use the herbs that are growing in my garden in the summertime.
And I love rosemary.
And we love rosemary. I love the smell of rosemary. But when I looked it up and really researched about rosemary, rosemary is really good for us.
In lots of different ways.
Yeah, and one of the things that was kind of fun to discover is that, it's part of the mint family.
We call that the Lamiaceae.
I have it right here
There it
because
is.
it's like, oh, where are my glasses?
So, yeah.
Yeah, because there was no way I was going to be able to pronounce that. But, it's actually got a good bit of calcium in it, and it's got vitamin B6 in it and iron. And I'm one of those gals, a lot of gals need a lot more iron. And so having a little help with our rosemary goes a long way.
Yes.
It's also, it's packed full of antioxidants and anti-inflammatories, which, are so good for all of us. It's known to improve digestion. So, like mint, anything in the mint family helps that. I love peppermint after getting rid of a meal, or Moroccan mint, to go back to that Moroccan theme.
Yes,
love Moroccan mint. Believe it or not, this one I really liked. So it means that I have to make more rosemary dark chocolate chip cookies. It enhances your memory.
Oh, yeah.
How great is that? So
What'd you say?
concentration. I forgot already. And then neurological protection, and it can prevent brain aging, which sort of goes in with the memory vein, right? And neurological. There's some cancers that it actually helps fight and prevent. And then macular degeneration,
All right.
which is really important. As some of us are aging,
Yes,
we're
and some
more
of us
aware
are,
of these things. And
well, go rosemary.
yeah, and so I think so Medical News Today is an article where some of this reference was made. So I wanted you to know I just didn't go to somebody else's blog, but I actually did try and find one that was legitimate and had noted the research. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about.
And I will say also, growing up, I can't think of a rosemary that I didn't think of as a really special person.
Oh,
So
the name.
just the older
Yeah,
Rosemary.
think about that.
That's,
That's a nice idea
They
too.
tend to be great people. I'm just
Yeah. Go Rosemary.
That's
good. So, and then we talked about the, rosemary and dark chocolate. Dark chocolate actually can have a little bit of a bite or bitterness to it. And when you think about how we have the 5 savory tastes, what are those? Can you guys help me with that?
Well, like your taste buds, the 5 tastes we have,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I think it's sweet,
Yep.
sour, salty,
Yep.
bitter,
Yep.
and umami.
Well, I'm pungent.
Well, that's
Pungent counts for rosemary. So what
Okay.
I thought was fun is if you go through this.
That's not my
So let's
thought.
say it again. Bitter, salty, sweet, sour, and pungent. We end up with a little bit of the bitter with the dark chocolate, depending on how dark your chocolate is too. The more dark it is, the more
the more cacao.
bitter it can be. It's never really bitter, but it has a little bit of a bite to it. And then salty, I always put salt because salt, enhances flavors, right? So
Without becoming salty, it
Right.
does enhance, exactly.
And then sweet, of course, we put some sugar in. And then the one thing we don't really have in this, I think, is sour. But we do have pungent because of the rosemary. And I think when we think about using all of our palate, actually I realized that our senses as well are really important to the sense of satisfaction.
Right.
Because if we look at something and it looks beautiful, if we smell it and it smells good, we
And if it
taste
hits
and
you
it
at all
tastes
these different
good.
points, right.
And then if you're incorporating all those different tastes, you're really creating something that's a winner, that's going to really make you feel good. So I've been kind of loading this in because I've been waiting for the infusion to happen. Meanwhile, I forgot to mention at the very beginning, I turned the oven to 350, and Walter's about to say, well, honey, you have both ovens on, and I'm going to say, well, I pre-thought, and we're going to have a a comfort dinner, which for me, so everyone else is going to enjoy it, is a baked potato and scrambled eggs. So the baked potatoes are in the lower oven.
We also can use the egg yolk soup.
Oh, look at that!
In addition to the
perfect.
scrambled eggs.
So tonight we're going to put it in the scrambled eggs.
So are you doing one? You've got one rack in the middle. Is that what you want, rather than a little higher than that?
Yeah, and then so we'll fill one, put it in. We'll fill the other, and then we'll swap them out.
Okay.
So anyway, so we've got the flours. We got to go back to putting the baking soda in, and it's one teaspoon of the baking soda, and only baking soda. A lot of my recipes I tend to have, the baking powder and baking soda, but in this particular one, we only have that. And then it's just a 1/4 teaspoon of the salt, and I really lightened the salt. Most of my recipes I about have the salt that was originally in them, so that's what I do here. So it still adds to the flavor. So then we can just, need to mix these up. When you're a young cook, you tend to think you just plop them all in, and what happens is you get lumpy kinds of cookies because all the leavening is in one piece of it. So we've stirred that up, so all the flour, the leavening, and the salt are there. And now, what happened to the big bowl? Oh, can I have the big bowl back over here, please? So, and I guess I need a
plate off.
Real life spoon too. So I'm gonna pick my favorite. Everybody has a favorite spoon, right? This is my favorite wooden spoon.
Plate off.
Let's do it.
Boom.
So we've got.
Smells like rosemary.
So oh my gosh, smells so good.
It really does.
Man, can you smell it all the way over there?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm.
I think I'm now going to have a confession.
Oh no! What?
Well, are you about to add butter to sugar?
I am. Oh, are you going to tell your story?
It's just one of those things. I remember I used to love making cookies as a very young child with my sister, I will say.
And one of his sisters.
Exactly.
He has 2 sisters.
I do remember eating creamed butter and sugar.
I know, but he was so scrawny. When we started dating, we were barely 13 years old. When I met him, he was actually 12 years old. And he was one scrawny dude. He was very healthy, and scrawny was good. There was never, he was just the way he should be, but he could eat that butter and get away with it at that stage of his life, although it was probably never really good for him, to be honest, but we never encouraged our children to do that. I will say. But so what I'm doing it creaming. You can do this, in a KitchenAid mix master kind of thing. I personally am one of those that the more calories I can burn, the happier I am. So, and there's just something really yummy about doing this where you
and we had a wonderful dinner on Friday night with a dear longtime friend who is a great cook, but she always cooks with her hands, everything. Yes. So I know that Sally right now would be creaming this right with her fingers. So.
When she was putting together the salad and she put her hands down in there, it brought back so many memories of watching her. She'd always make fresh bread, and this was like while we were there, so everything was so fresh whenever she'd have a dinner party. And not that she's not having dinner parties now, but we just haven't had that gloriousness here for a while, and it was very fun to watch that, because it's like gardening. Right. I think cooking is a lot like gardening, where
getting your hands in it.
Yes, and so it's satisfying, and it's good for our souls, and our minds, and our hearts, and that's why cooking at home, which is another thing, that's why we're doing what we're doing here, is because it is fun. Honest to Pete, isn't it fun?
It is fun. Yes.
And it's fun to do it together.
And back to the Valentine's thing, there is something sort of sensual about cooking. And
very sensual about cooking. Yes, well, we won't get down and dirty here, but yes, it is. It's just very yummy. So I'm creaming and I do need a teaspoon of this, Walt. So
which I assume is
the vanilla. Do double check. Sometimes I grab the wrong extract, which
right.
could be, create a new sensation, a new
Are you ready
delight.
for it, or wait?
Not quite yet. Well, actually, after this, I probably want to go ahead and put the egg in, and then we'll put the vanilla.
I think it's good.
Usually I put the vanilla in at the end.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of myself.
Okay, I'll put
Sorry
it right
about
here.
that,
So
but we do need the egg in here. We're pretty well creamed here. So
right.
we're gonna.
So it's looking chunky. It's not. It's not like it's one smooth thing. There are kind of half tablespoon sizes of chunks of butter still there.
Okay, so now we're going to put, so again, this is just the egg white, so it's lower in cholesterol. And again, if that's something, when we're talking about Heart Month, this is kind of an important point. You know,
Hey, Dan.
we
Hello.
all need to.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So we all need to be mindful, and there's some simple, easy ways that don't take flavor away, don't take our delights and our favorite recipes away, but can make them a little healthier, so that we're being just a little more mindful about the yumminess that we're creating and thoughtful for the people that we're giving it to.
So a long time good friend of ours and birthday twin of Sheila's just joined us.
Hey, how lucky am I?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Dan's in for the chocolate chip cookies, I'm sure.
Well, that's the thing. Chocolate chip cookies. Okay, so I've got this all yummied up.
Okay, that looks great.
And they look good. And now
Yeah.
we're gonna start. And with this, you never dump all of the flour in, right? So we've got this mixture of flour, and I usually do. And often Cynthia's helping with this, where I do like 3 or 4 spoonfuls at a time. Makes it easier to blend in, and it's not so hard to move the spoon around in it. So.
The old theory on lots of things is kind of start with a third and then do another third and
Right.
then the final third.
Right, that's a good point. And that makes it easy to remember.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put some more in now. And yes, my arm is feeling it.
Good
but
job.
It's happy. So we're gonna do some more here.
Calories out.
Calories out, a few more calories in. So, you know, this reminds me of when we first started Livliga. We asked friends, because we have lovely, wonderful friends, if they wouldn't mind giving house, in-house parties for us to introduce people to Livliga. And we had so many friends. We are so blessed who were willing and game to do that, and in many different cities.
Yes.
We had lots of fun, but part of the whole thing was that we were kind of creating a party with food, and so it was all about the menu as well. So it was all healthy foods that look beautiful on our dinnerware.
Either really, really good appetizer things or really good desserts. It was
And
lovely.
so my Rosemary dark chocolate chip cookies were always a feature, and as part of our little gift to people for coming and learning about Livliga, I remember hours of Walt and me and Synth and anybody else that was around that we could grab, filling a little cellophane bag with 2 of these
2 chocolate chip cookies.
chocolate chip cookies, and then we had a
Rosemary
little
dark
sticker with Livliga on it. We were so proud of ourselves. But these were a big hit. Might have at that stage been more remembered by the dark chocolate chip, Rosemary dark chocolate chip cookies than what we were, offering people in terms of Livliga. But eventually the tide turned.
Yes.
But so here we are. Seems very dry, but I have my butter, half cup of butter in here, and my eggs. So
And there's no other liquid to
No, well,
get
there's
the baking soda going?
yeah. So I'm just looking here. Yeah. So 1 cup, 1/4 cup. Yep. I did everything.
Okay.
But this is looking a little dry. So sometimes you have to figure things out.
Oh, the vanilla extract will make a huge difference.
Oh, huge difference. So another thing I wanted to mention, as I have evolved in cooking and evolved in making things healthier, not only did we talk about the ingredients that we put in it being wholesome and adjusting them to be a little healthier, but we also talked about portion size. And one of the things that I discovered early on in the cookie baking was cookie scoops, and that they come in different sizes. I always knew about ice cream scoops.
Right.
I never realized the magic of these, and that you can get them in just the right size, so you can have a tablespoon.
Like a number 7.
And so they come out uniform,
Yes.
and you know exactly what you have. And these cookies, when you measure that tablespoon, are at just 88 calories a cookie. And that includes with the dark chocolate chips. So that is pretty awesome. And so here we are. I'm not quite sure why it's so dry. But let's put the vanilla in,
Yep.
please. Be generous. And 1 teaspoon, but just don't underdo it. Thanks. We're gonna put in. Perfect. That won't help a whole lot, but there we go. Huge. Okay, and then we're going to put the dark chocolate chips. And so it's 3/4 cup of the dark chocolate chips. And I've actually tried different dark chocolate chips. Some people prefer Ghirardelli. The problem with Ghirardelli is they really melt, so they blend in with the cookie. I like the fact that these actually kind of create discrete chocolate chip cookies, and so when you bake them, they come out looking like chocolate chip cookies. So, and that's just 3/4 cup, and again, that's been adjusted over time. So, again, instead of a cup or so of the dark chocolate or the chocolate chips. And you know, you can get different degrees of dark chocolate. The higher in cocoa, the faster they melt, honestly. So this is sort of the darkest you can get and not have them immediately infuse. What? So, what I want to do now is spray this. We're going to move this out of the way so we can put our cookie sheet on here. And while we put our first batch in, we're going to kind of talk about celebrate, since we're celebrating Heart Month and Valentine's Day. So I don't know if you saw, but I just I took some ham. I wish they had squirt just regular vegetable oil ham, but they don't yet. Oh, honey, I have them right here. Yes. You want me? He wants me to use the new fancy ones. Of course, because we're at home with Sheila, I of course got my old die-hard ones out. So I'm going to use the really sexy USA pens that are perfection, that you never have to spray or put anything on, because the cookies will come right off. So here we are, and so here is our first cookie. It's beautiful, beautimous. So I may fudge a little and put them together. This is so funny. So here we go. Putting them all. Oh, look at all that just yumminess.
With the funny new butter sticks,
I know.
you used a full stick, not a half stick. It wasn't.
I did 2 of them, and so
But
that's
are
a
they
half
quarters?
cup.
Okay.
Okay. So it was a half cup of butter,
Okay.
and each one is a 1/4 cup.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I did pay attention to that. I hate
Okay.
those. I don't know, I'm an old-fashioned gal. I like that full, I like preferring buying the ones. But anymore, with the way we use butter, unless you're baking, that actually the smaller amount probably is better. So, I sprayed it. It really kind of becomes fine, but I always spray it initially so that it doesn't stick too much. So they're not sticking at all today, which is just fine with us. Oops, I grabbed. So I am gonna stick these in, then I'm gonna turn the tea kettle on, because one of our favorite things is to have tea and cookies as a treat.
Yes.
And of course, tonight is the night to have a treat. And so we're gonna show you how to serve that up in a way that is absolutely satisfying and pretty, and where you're really kind of creating a simple event for yourself. That's the thing, you know, if we take a moment to really enjoy that kind of quiet moment a day, it can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be a long time.
Hi, Randy.
And we can really enjoy. Hi, Randy. Welcome, welcome.
He said he's definitely going to add rosemary to his chocolate chip
All
cookies.
right.
Right on. Thank you.
So we are about ready to put our first batch in. And here we go. I'm just going to press these 2 kind of together a little bit. All right, I want to make sure those chocolate chips don't escape. So we're going to put it in for 12 minutes, I think is what I say, 10 minutes. And we'll do it for 10 minutes. And whoop. Here we go. So I have a handy watch. Siri, set the timer for 10 minutes. How lucky am I?
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
So 10 minutes and counting.
It's good.
Let's do the next one.
All right.
And so one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, you know, we always feature something about Livliga so that we can serve up these healthy recipes on Livliga. And today we picked Celebrate, and we have a whole suite that's of our dishware, and each one is original in design and words. And this is all about the psychology and power of words. So much of our design is about how our eyes perceive food and how by the design we allow people to see the food as plentiful so they can feel satisfied. But also, as we talked earlier, satisfaction has a lot to do with our mental health,
psychology,
and how we're feeling. And so this beautiful line we call it Celebrate the Poetry of Life, because they're phrases on every single dish and mug, every bowl, everything that's in this set, the 16-piece set. So today we're kind of featuring the side plate because, of course, the cookies are going to look delicious on the side plate, and then, of course, we're going to have our cup of tea. The fun thing is that each one, since they're original, so here with this side plate, it says, live vibrant, notice every color, find wellness, which of course is very apropos when we're talking about Heart Month, living healthy. And then we have what we call emotive words in the middle, and so these say delight, revel. Doesn't it already make you feel better?
Slow down, take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. And so then the next one, do you want to read the next one?
And the first one had grapes and a lemon wedge. This has a stalk of celery and parsley leaf.
Yes.
And it says, live well, love what you eat, taste freshness. And its emotive words are share and laugh.
I just had to laugh.
Would you like to
I'm
share
known for my laugh.
That's
what
it.
can I
Yes,
say?
she is. International.
Let's see, isn't that beautiful? And so and this is black and white, so it's sort of like a bistro design. That's what it's our riff on a bistro, French bistro design, because again, we think of that as a sexy design.
Yes, and with fresh carrots and dill.
Yes.
It says, live wise, trust what you know, choose kindness, and the emotive words are linger and rest.
So can you just linger over a cookie and rest for a moment and sip your tea and get on to your day afterwards?
Yes.
So far, you see we've done 3. The live vibrant, live wise, live well, and then the final one
you have
here.
to speak a little more loudly here.
Because
What does it say?
live bold, try something new, which is what we're encouraging you to do today.
Yes.
Seek mindfulness. Funny that we should use that word here. And the emotive words are thrive and dare.
All right.
And there's a strawberry and a bee for dare, which we always thought was kind of fun, which we were kind of making seem like the honey, right? So it's the bee to the honey. But so those are the 4 plates. And so you could pick one of Walt's favorite things to do when we set a table is to pick what plate he thinks someone could most benefit from.
Exactly. Just a little encouragement.
Yeah. And then, of course, our mugs are the same, but I wanted to feature the side plates today, so some other time I'm going to keep it a secret today in terms of our mugs.
But this one happens to say.
This is my favorite mug. Not that I love all my children. So, but this one.
But not all your mugs equally.
Yes, I do. I really do. But I use one more often. And this one is Sip in Gratitude. And it has a beautiful chamomile flower with the idea that, of course, we're going to have tea. And we actually are going to have one that has chamomile and lavender in it. Can you imagine a cookie with rosemary and a tea with
lavender?
Chamomile? I'm telling you, and lavender.
We are herbs aplenty.
We are. It's so good for us.
Yes.
So anyway, so we wanted to talk about those today, just to show you kind of how there are so many different choices, and that there is a reason why there are these different choices, and how they help us be more mindful and be healthier, both in our mind and our spirit, and in our hearts and our health. And that's really something that won't ever go away. Again, I had to take my glasses off and be serious for a second.
Do you want me to
Oh, would you do that?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I get distracted. But
Well.
we really, this is a lifestyle. So it doesn't have to be a burden, it can be fun, and it can be the new habit. So to me, the new baseline is kind of what I'm working on, instead of going back to, when we're challenged in life, or frustrated, or overworked, or stressed, or, needing to go to, you know, what's easy. Sometimes what's easy is the old habits that aren't so healthy. But what if we created an environment where we had a new mental idea of what our baseline was, in terms of, it can still be simple, it can still be comforting, but that it's not destructive to ourselves. And that's what kind of, you know, what we talk about at each one of these Facebook Lives, is how, you know, how we treat ourselves, not just in terms of sweets, but in terms of how we take care of ourselves. And so a month where we focus on our heart, that's an important thing, I think, for us to be mindful of. And we have, how many more minutes? We have about 3 minutes.
And the other thing that you normally would say this time of year,
yes,
in Heart Month,
yes,
is that the two things.
Oh,
that
yes. Well, I was going to end up with that.
Okay.
But we can do it. We can definitely talk about that now. But I was with the American Heart Association. I was the executive director of the Denver affiliate region, and one of the things that we always smiled happily about was the fact that the two things that were, you know, that were good for us were dark chocolate and red wine, and how fortunate it is that both of them go so well together. So whenever we would have, you know, the some event, whether it was the Heart Ball or the Wear Red Day, we would make sure there was some red wine and some dark chocolate on hand. So, so I keep that sensibility as I move forward,
yes.
Even if I'm no longer with the American Heart Association. I am in spirit. So, one of the things that we want to make sure you know about too is with baking, is that we partnered with a fantastic pastry chef, and we actually put together a holiday baking ebook. And Vanessa Musi is her name, Chef Vanessa Musi. She's extraordinarily talented, and one of the things that she's done is really transformed baking so that she only uses whole ingredients, including whole sugars and whole flours and grains, but that, I shouldn't say but, and that are also very tasty and visually beautiful, and that you can see in this baking ebook. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to let you know, we'll post it, but it's a free download that we feature our live spoons, actually, just as we're featuring them here, because they are so handy for baking. They make measuring so easy, and then they're comfortable, and you know, you can hook them on the side of the bowl or pot, and you know, just not make everything so messy. So anyway, Cynthia will help me post the URL for the free baking ebook, holiday baking ebook, and there is a wonderful chocolate cake in there that is actually called a Valentine's chocolate cake that Vanessa is her original recipe. And I wanted to also mention that in addition to that, a couple of months ago, maybe around holiday time, we did a dark chocolate sauce on a poached pear.
Oh, so
and
good.
I wanted to remind you that we have a couple of other dark chocolate recipes out there that are on the blog, which is blog.livligahome.com.
And if you searched dark chocolate in your blog, would those come up?
Absolutely, they would come up.
So I mean, you actually have that really cataloged very nicely, so that you can do a keyword search and really come up with great recipes.
And so
or blogs specifically.
Yeah. So make sure you check that out. And then additionally, I also believe in guilty pleasures, and so and they aren't always focused around food. They're ways for us to actually do things that are that make us really feel yummy. But one of them is about eating popcorn with dark chocolate chips. And so that, I guess if you could call it a recipe, it's pretty simple, is also on the blog as kind of one of those pleasures if you're wanting to sit and watch a movie and curl up and have a treat. It's kind of a healthy treat, but that makes you feel like you're having a guilty pleasure. So there are wonderful choices out there in terms of things that you can enjoy with dark chocolate that are simple to do or a little more complicated, some of the recipes that Chef Vanessa Musi offers, but that are worth it because of what you're creating when you are baking with her help. So that's another thing I wanted to share with you. Oh, yep, absolutely.
Down at the bottom of the bowl here.
Yes, here we go. And these are looking mighty fine. And they're looking a little brown at the bottom. I guess we could have put it up higher, but it looks like it's in the middle of the oven. But they're just about out. So, oh, timer done. So here we go. I can get them out. So here we go,
do you want me to move
guys.
someplace, or are you okay?
I'm going to put them behind us, and
Perfect.
so I won't be, and then you can just stick in the next batch. The nice thing about these big trays is that you can put in a lot more
Yeah, I think
of the cookie dough. So here they are, guys. Don't they look beautiful?
they smell fabulous. I'll
They
say
smell
that.
pretty gosh darn good too. You know, normally you leave them on the pan for a couple of minutes just to let them set, so they won't tear apart as fast. But
Randy, if you ask nicely, Cynthia might have a cookie for you.
aha! So here we go. We might try some.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe not.
It's hanging on the door this
I think
morning.
Cynthia wants her own cookies. You know.
No.
Oh, I forgot to turn on the water.
He hanged on the door this morning.
Ah. Yeah, you guys are like that with each other. So I wanted to show you my new favorite tea, which is lavender chamomile tea. Bigelow, is that how you pronounce it? So it even says that it has probiotics in it. I guess a lot of teas do just because of the nature of what tea is. But I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and serve up some delicious rosemary dark chocolate chip cookies. And I hope you all will do the same. And one of these cookies is just 88 calories. And we have this recipe, I think Cynthia posted it, but we also have it on our website and also on the blog. So you can get to it in a variety of places. And it tells you how long it takes. And it tells you that 2 cookies are, let's see, for a snack, it actually has you also include some grapes. So we kind of create an overall snack for you. But each cookie is 88 calories, so that's pretty cool. And these are
Yum.
yummy. And they come right off. Do you see me picking it up?
That's
So,
the magic of the USA paper.
oh my God, if you're ever wanting to invest in something that's really good. So, Cin's coming in for her cookies.
Yeah.
Right.
They may be hot.
Yeah, be careful, guys. Oh, oops, they're kind of falling apart, as I knew they would.
I'll take Randy's.
We normally let them
Yes.
cool for a moment.
Just kidding.
Huh.
So, all right, are we ready to taste, you guys? I'm ready to taste.
Are we sharing or? am
Oh,
I
we can
doing-
definitely share, or you can just have your own.
I'll have my own.
Okay. We're kind of possessive about
Yes.
rosemary dark chocolate chip. It's kind of,
Oh, cheers.
How is it? Cheers. Uh oh. Well, they're not cooled yet.
They're delicious.
Oh, they are good.
Oh my god, they're good.
They're really. They have a different taste than other chocolate chip cookies.
They're
But-
fabulous, straight out of the oven. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
And these are wonderful once they do cool off. Again, what I love about cookies is that they can be single serve. And when they cool off, when I have a big old batch that I've made, then I wrap individually. Each one, they just last longer that way. You don't have to do that. Put them in a Ziploc and then put them in the freezer. And then I can just take one out at a time or 2 at a time when I'm wanting to have a snack and
Or
fix
for a
my cup
party.
of tea. And then for a party, just get whatever amount out that you want. We did that the other night. Actually, some lemon bars I had made with lavender. I make my lemon bars with lavender. That recipe's also available. And so, they're great single serve, and they are a great pick me up as a snack or as a dessert at the end of a meal because they're not adding, just one
And
cookie.
they're delicious right out of the oven.
And
Warm.
Oh, they
yes, delicious out of the oven warm. My tea is not quite ready, but I'm going to imagine that it is. And pour my tea so you
Hot
can
water.
have a full sense of, it's hot enough actually. Oh, and then Lily would like to have one too, our puppy dog. So I'm going to come over here, unless Walter wants to do it.
No, go ahead.
And show you. Here we are with our dark chocolate chip rosemary cookies and our Sip in Gratitude lavender chamomile tea.
Just warm
And we're
food.
here with you, taking a sip, enjoying our cookies, and thanking you for joining us for our second Facebook Live of 2019. And we hope that you will enjoy this recipe and make use of it. Of
And
course,
we have
always
our-
serve it up on Livliga. And will you tell them when the next one is?
So our next Facebook Live will be Tuesday, March 26th, again at 5:30 Mountain Standard Time.
Oh, and what are we covering?
I don't know. I don't have my glasses on.
It's all about the brunch. So
Oh,
we're going to be
how fun.
focusing on frittatas because that's one of my favorite things to make because it's, again, so fun to put yummy ingredients in it. And in fact, we can make a Mediterranean one in honor
I think
of
it's a great
David's
idea.
question
And
earlier.
last night, because we have a new Instant Pot, there was an incredible recipe for frittatas in an Instant Pot.
He's
where it
trying
looked like
to
a
nudge me
springform.
towards the
We may
Instant Pot. We may just have to do
We
that.
get to do 2 recipes and try one out.
Ooh, that sounds like
Yeah,
fun.
so-
Yeah, that's great. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a part of our Livliga community here, and we always appreciate you coming on board and coming into our kitchen. And again, here we are, Walt and Sheila, with our healthy recipes served up on Livliga, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.